Good day, everyone. We're going to talk about a good note, and we perhaps can make the fact that I have a bit of a cold myself, maybe we can turn this into the note if I were to go to see the doctor, who knows? We're going to talk about some things that can make notes better. We're going to talk about things that really need to be in a note, and in doing so, hopefully we'll save providers time, because that's what a lot of what I teach now is the changes that we've seen in our documentation requirements for evaluation and management services. So as we look at that first column, one or more chronic illnesses, two or more stable chronics, one undiagnosed. Now, the interesting thing about the table is that it really comes down to the most severe problem the patient has. In other words, if you have two acute illnesses with systemic symptoms, you don't get to jump to the next box. And they've told us that. So rather, we're going to look at how do we use these words in order to show in this very first column, how sick is this patient? And so these are the words that we see from moderate, which would be a level 4. And these are the words we see for the high, which would be leading us to a level 5. And again, we need 2 out of 3. We're only talking about that column. But look for a level 5, what the patient needs to be coming in with. A chronic illness with severe exacerbation, progression, or side effects of treatment. Or a patient that has an acute or chronic illness or injury that poses a threat to life or bodily function. So for this cold, this illness that I have, could you get to a level 5 or high in this first column based on what you can hear from me right now? Well, if I was really short of breath, if I was wheezing, if I had that severity of illness that only words are going to get us to, then maybe we could get to a high level. But I always say a level 5, that patient has a tendency to have one foot on the way to the ER, because if we think about a severe exacerbation of an illness, when we look at these illnesses that we're talking about, and I want to just take a moment to talk about, CPT talks about the problem has to be addressed. So when we're looking at how many problems or what kinds of problems were addressed, problems that someone else is going to take care of, like, okay, they're going to have me see a pulmonologist and they're not doing anything about this problem that I'm having right now. I came in to have my blood pressure checked. Referral without evaluation, they don't get credit for that illness that I'm having. Or we see in the hospital a problem that's not addressed on a particular date. And I think that's just a note, because we're talking about office services most of all. So is the problem being managed or co-managed by that professional that's reporting this service? If I am a patient that is going to my primary care doctor and I have asthma, and he's saying I have an acute exacerbation of my asthma, and he's treating that asthma, even though I may also be seeing a pulmonologist, he's addressing the problem of asthma today. And so therefore, he could take credit for that because he's meeting that requirement of problem addressed. Now, we know we may have multiple problems. It may affect the medical decision making. It may inherently take things to a higher level, but we also have to look at, we don't want to take symptoms that really are having to do with one diagnosis. So if I'm coughing and I'm wheezing and I have a fever, those are all things that are attributable to whatever this junk is that I have. And so we're not going to code each symptom, because we only code symptoms that are unique and have not been attributed to a problem or an identified disease process. So we're not going to code those extra symptoms or mark them as addressed. The next thing in a good note is about testing that's done. And I know a lot of people have gotten confused. One of the things I want to show you is that this information is from that middle column in that table that you have a copy of, and that for a moderate level of service, we need any one of these three categories. So a category 1, a category 2, or a category 3.